Coming up next, I'm going to talk about one of the classic perfumes in the industry that's been around for, wow, almost 30 years now. That's been in my collection for a long time, that to be honest with you, I pretty much hated, couldn't stand, until just recently when all of a sudden now I'm really in love with this fragrance again. So stay tuned to find out what it is. Welcome back, everybody, to Joel the Nose, and coming to you from my new kind of study slash perfume room in my new house. Hope you guys like it. I got my cat climbing around here. He's playing with some some plants. Today's video is to talk about a classic fragrance that's been around since 1993. Let's see if you guys can guess it. Came out in 1993. No cheating. Don't look it up. It is from a designer house, one of the most popular designer houses of all time. It is a legendary perfumer created it for them, and it's still sold today. If you go into Sephora, Ulta, Macy's, any of the department stores or those specialty makeup stores, it's one of the few that still has shelf space, and you know that's pretty valuable stuff. So it obviously is a big seller for them still, and it's been in my collection for probably close to 15 years now. And I still have a third of the bottle left, which says a lot for that, meaning I didn't really use it a lot over the years. Can you guess what it is? Now I've given all those hints, and you can see it. It's back there. It's back up over here. I'm actually kind of pointing up in its direction. All right, let me go get it for you. And here it is. Platinum Egoist from Chanel. Eau de toilette. Wow, you can see, yeah, look, I've only got about a third of the bottle left. And, well, only when I've had this for over 15 years. This was, as I told you, I've been in the fragrance game for going on, well, shoot, almost 40 years, well, about 35 years now. And from the time I was in my late teens. So this is a fragrance that came out in 1993. I was 23 when it came out. Now, I smelled it back then, but I was still kind of wearing at that time Polo Sport, which came out, I think it came out in 94 if I'm not mistaken, maybe 95. But at that time, I might have been wearing Dracar or Polo still. But this is a fragrance that when it came out, you know, it's been really popular. And I bought it actually not until probably somewhere around the mid-2000s, maybe 2005 or so when I got this bottle. And it's because, you know, I wasn't into niche fragrance yet. I only kind of wore designer fragrances still at that time. And you know, whenever you go into the department store, this was always being pushed. It was always being, you know, saying, hey, try this out. So I wanted to give it a try. And I violated one of my cardinal rules. And I've done a video talking about things I wish I knew then that I know now. I just listened to what was recommended to me by the saleswoman at the department store. It was at that time called Birdine's, which was a store here in Florida that eventually became Macy's. Macy's bought it. And I remember walking through, smelled it really quick, didn't smell my skin, smelled good, smelled whatever, and I bought it. And it sat, and it sat, and it sat. And that's why over 15 years, I still have this much left. And I finally decided to kind of go back and revisit it again. And if you look at it, it's kind of got the classic notes. You know, it's created by Jacques Polge, who is the in-house fragrance or perfumer for Chanel. It was probably, you know, this was a long time ago. So, you know, he wasn't as established or well-known back then. But, you know, this is one of those fragrances that when you smell it, it has that classic DNA aldehydic smell, which Chanel is kind of, you know, known for. But it also comes off to me at the top is really a strong combination of lavender and rosemary. Rosemary to me has almost kind of like a marine-like scent. Actually in French, Mary is like rose of the sea. But this is something that, again, it was just kind of like off-putting to me for a long time. I don't know what it is. I think it was like just kind of that rosemary lavender smell. I don't get much of the neroli. I get a little bit of the citrus at the top, but I also get more petitgrain. And I know petitgrain now because I actually have a bottle up there of lavender, petitgreen, and rosemary. And those are fragrances or notes that I didn't love. But as I've started to kind of tinker and make my own fragrances and really train my nose, this is a fragrance now that I love. And it's because I love those notes I've gotten to know them individually. And this is kind of a lesson. Our nose changes over time. Just like our food palate changes, right? There's a lot of foods I didn't like when I was younger that I like now. For example, Brussels sprouts. I just mentioned something I hated for a long time. I love Brussels sprouts now. I love squash now. I hated squash. Zucchini. I hated all those things. I love those foods now. And it's the same with their nose and sense of smell. So the point of today's video is go back and try fragrances maybe, especially for those of you who've been in the game for a while, that have sat in your collection that you didn't like. And I bet you'll be surprised at how many fragrances you have that you didn't like and think in your mind you still didn't like. And now that you go back, your nose has evolved and you actually probably will like some of them now. I've been wearing this now a bunch of times over the last couple of weeks, and it's going to go heavily back into my rotation. Yes, it's been macerating for a long time, so of course it's going to smell a little bit different, but it still smells essentially the same as I always remember it. But what I really like about it now is that it's got this fresh, modern, but classic French perfumery connection. And that's one of the things I love about Chanel. Excuse me, my phone's buzzing. What I love about Chanel is it is this fragrance to me came out before the late 90s when you had the entire run from Creed Aventus through Bleu de Chanel, through Acqua di Gio, through, just all the kind of, Spice Bomb, Dior, all had those, what is now still today the most prevalent, just kind of clean, fresh marine blue scent. This is clean and fresh, but masculine and yet French in ways that those other fragrances are not. And it just, to me, is a good marriage between perfumery of the old and yet of the new. And what I gotta say, and I'll end on this, is to me, this has come full circle. This is a fragrance I did not like, and now it's come around, and it started out as this kind of really classic to me fragrance, and it's come around now as a bridge between what's out there now as modern and yet some of those old fragrances that maybe have not aged as well, like Drakkar or maybe like Polo Green. This to me has aged very well. And what started out maybe not to me as my favorite is now this great blend of the past and the modern, the past and the present. So gotta say, great fragrance in my mind. If you don't own Platinum Egoist, Chanel's Platinum Egoist, go out and try it. You can get it almost anywhere. It's ubiquitous. The reason why I think that is because this is really a fragrance that has stood the test of time. So there you have it. This is Joel the Nose. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing. And you can like the video and, of course, ring the bell for notifications if you choose to subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your support. I'll be back soon with another video.